should we both answer that, or do you just need?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
I can say some. I think this exhibition, it could be best described as a sort of recontextualizing of the historical instrument of the glass harmonica or the glass harp, specifically looking at glass and trying to bring that sort of idea into a modern context.
It consists of approximately 40 spinning, tuned glass bowls, vessels that produce a sound that is very similar to the sound produced when you rub your finger around the edge of a wine glass.
The history is that, well, it sort of started off with this instrument called the glass harp, which is essentially a series of tuned glass goblets played by hand, in the same fashion as a finger on the wine glass, except a whole set of them in front of you. And that it was kind of sort of a parlor trick. It was done in bars and sort of that kind of had that sort of place in the folk culture. And then it was eventually mechanized by Benjamin Franklin, who, was enamored by the sound that came out, and so decided to build out a mechanical device that would allow you to more easily perform it, and you essentially kind of turning it into a fine arts instrument.
When a viewer of an art object or an art installation interacts with that object and walks into the space, and specifically would, in relation to this piece, walking into this space, you are in effect transferred from the outside world into this aesthetic experience.
Yeah, I'd never worked with a visual artist before either. I mean, I've worked on a lot of collaborative projects. I've done a lot of film scores and worked with filmmakers, but never anybody who was involved so intimately with a specific medium like craft-based medium like glass. So it was really a great opportunity to work with somebody in that way.
I've never done any true installation work. It's up until this point been, for the most part, an object of some kind on a pedestal. So to be able to utilize the space and work with a sound component with Ethan is the best part about the collaboration so far. Just being able to really use the whole space, and specifically with sound, the air surrounding you as each viewer walks in.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it being in this space for that reason. I mean, there's so much motion outside, and once the windows are open and the viewer's able to come in and kind of experience that with the sound quality, I think it will sort of deepen the experience. And in these sort of accidental noises and sounds that are going to be happening and intermingling with the piece are, I think, really great. And in a certain way, they sort of, hopefully the piece will kind of open up your ears in a more general way and get you to listen to things a little bit closer. And as you recognize some of because it's not only just the pure tonal things that are happening in the piece, there's also these mechanical sounds that you can start to tune into. And I think sort of in a certain sense, those tones kind of draw you in, and then the mechanical noises become more apparent as you listen. And hopefully that'll open your hearing up in general and just get you to listen to your whole environment in a new way.
Right, to all kinds of things. The cars going by outside, the children screaming, the doors opening and closing. I don't think the accidental sound is in a way part of the uniqueness of the composition. I think it's really important. It's just as important as, say, the light that comes in the window. It's a glass exhibit, so the light coming in the window and the lighting on the shadows is is extremely important. The fact that the trees outside won't have leaves on them at all in a couple of weeks, and how that's going to affect the mood in here. All of these things are accidental, and they make the piece unique, just the same as the other sounds that are occurring. Would sound art be in relationship to music? Sound art in relationship to music, does it make a difference whether or not there's a performer performing a piece? Because most music there implies some performance, some performer, somebody making the music, whereas sound art could be often automated or automatic or accidental.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, and a lot of those ideas come, from musicians, and certainly you can reference like the philosophy of somebody like John Cage, who was clearly a composer and was in the music world, but was talking a lot about sound in a form that wasn't controlled by even a composer or a performer. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's so hard to kind of really concretely nail it down. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't think it's just, I think to me it sort of opens up the world of possibilities. So it's not restricted to necessarily sort of the theoretical pinnings of music. And now if you place it in kind of an art context, it opens up a lot more room to explore and think about how to approach sound.
Mm-hmm. In referencing this work, it being in a craft museum, there is no performer. There's a lot of musical qualities, but there is no performer other than the material itself. It came up with a lot of the compositional choices on its own through the process that we described before.
And a lot of times, and especially with words, but in things in general, I'm interested in sort of multiple perspectives on a single thing. So with the title, there's just a lot of different ways to look at that. We were kind of speaking specifically about the transference of the sound from the glass into the air to the audience, but we're also talking about sort of the transference of this historical instrument through time and the way that it's changed, and it's sort of a historical conversation that's happening.
We're also interested in the transference of ideas between the two of us as a collaboration. Also, there's another one too.
Yeah, well, I think
there's
keep
multiple
going.
layers. Yeah,
and part of it too, part of the fun in that too, I think, is that it allows the audience to kind of draw their own conclusions about how that word ties in for them in terms of their experience and thinking about the work.